anything I can't prove. Secondly, the evidence is coming in so fast I can't even process it all. Let me put it this way. First of all, I never say anything I can't prove. Secondly, the evidence is coming in so fast I can't even process it all. Millions of Americans have written, I would say by now. Definitely hundreds of thousands have stepped forward with their different experiences of voter fraud. But this is a massive election fraud, and I'm very concerned it involved not only Dominion and its Smartmatic software, but that the software essentially was used by other election machines also. Retired Admiral Peter Neffenger, he is president and on the board of directors of Smartmatic, and it just so happens he's on Mr. Biden's presidential transition team that's going to be non-existent because we're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states. And President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose.
All right, folks, for more on this, we're joined now by White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro. Sir, it's always great to see you. You know, the allegations from Sidney Powell there are explosive, backed up by the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. At least 73 million supporters of President Trump are anxiously awaiting that evidence that she's speaking of. What can you tell us tonight?
We want a certifiable, verifiable vote. That's all we're really seeking here. And when you look across the 6 states where there's contention, you look at Georgia, you look at Arizona. In the South, you go up to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania in the North, and then one other, Nevada. You see what's interesting, Chris, is you just see a whole bunch of strange things going on that I think should give the American people pause with respect to these results that the mainstream media seems to want to shove down our throat. I find it curious, Chris, that we went through months of poll suppression with the mainstream media telling us that President Donald J. Trump was going to get just trounced in a landslide. Poll suppression with these. I mean, it's just crazy. It's now we had it's a 50-50 election where President Trump likely won when you account for all these voter abnormalities. Yet these same mainstream media folks are trying to tell us now that we shouldn't even bother to contest what appear to be a whole wide range of obvious anomalies. I mean, that one with the voting machine one really bugs me because I was with the president back in 2016 on the campaign, came into the White House, really worried about the Chinese Communist Party and its chicanery, and the idea that you could have some kind of voting machinery and software that the Chinese communists had a hand in, working in concert with some of these Democrat Party globalists who seem to favor the ends justify the means mentality to get rid of Donald J. Trump. I mean, it's a volatile cocktail there, I think, sir. Yeah. So
yeah, and I can tell you, Mr. Navarro, that the Dominion machines that are under scrutiny right now in the great state of Texas, they looked at Dominion and said, why would we want to have such a crooked operation coming into our state? The state of Texas rejected that, but it was actually present in a lot of these battleground states. You mentioned China, and I want to get to that because you've got Pfizer and Moderna coming out with vaccines. I know you're heading up a lot of that effort there in the administration. Number one, talk about the logistics of how quickly that vaccine could get out. And then number two, why does the press refuse to give your administration any credit for the extraordinary work you guys have done to get this vaccine out in record time?
Well, I love that question, Chris, because right here in this office on February 9th, I penned a memo on behalf of the president, which was sent to the White House Coronavirus Task Force, which basically laid out the president's 4-vector attack strategy, which is the PPE, the testing, the therapeutics, and the vaccine. And in that memo and a series that followed over the next 10 days or so, we basically laid out in that February 9th memo, I said, hey, if we start this now on vaccine development, we could have a vaccine by the end of November or early December. And Moderna was in that hunt. J&J was in that hunt. Pfizer was in that hunt. This all went back to February. And I guess the thing, look, the Moderna coming out with these results, Pfizer coming out like a week after the election, a few days after the election. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, come on. Really. I mean, if those results had come out before the election, that would have had a material effect on the election. So you have to ask yourself the question, like, how did that happen, Chris? And you know, there are no coincidences here. There's no coincidence
I get it. I understand. By the way, I've only got about 60 seconds left, Mr. Navarro, and I want you to get into this because, you know, that we, of course, have never forgotten why we're having to deal with the China virus to begin with. It's because of that communist country. They just entered into a trade deal, 14 other countries, and they excluded the United States. I just want you to give us a preview. If we are cursed with Obama's third term, with a Beijing-Biden occupation of the Oval Office, how do you see America's trade deals with China? Will we go back to being advantaged China again, sir?
Well, that is the fork in the road, but let's talk about that after we get through this legal process here, because as far as I'm concerned, Donald J. Trump is going to have a second term based on everything I'm seeing in terms of these voting irregularities. So let's have that conversation, Chris, after these ballots are certified and verified and the courts deal with what are obvious anomalies that need to be contested.
Fair enough.